I'm 33, my wife is 27, and we've been together for 7 years, married for the last 2. Basically, I've been with her through all of her 20s. We don't have kids, and honestly, we've never had any huge blow-ups or screaming matches. I've always made it a priority to address problems as they came up. One thing my parents drilled into me was to never go to bed angry, and I've really tried to live by that. The one big challenge we've faced is my low testosterone and the erectile dysfunction that comes with it. Her sex drive is way stronger than mine. I tried explaining it to her. It's not that I don't care, it's just that sometimes the desire isn't there. It's like if someone asked me if I wanted to sit down and watch golf, I just wouldn't be into it. I'll admit I didn't do everything I could to fix it. My doctor prescribed testosterone shots, but I've got a real fear of needles, so I never use them. My wife's just as needle phobic, so she wouldn't help me either. Instead, I leaned on the little blue pill to get things going. But she didn't want to know when I took it. She said it ruined the spontaneity. That whole setup put a strain on our intimacy. But beyond that, we were doing pretty well. Then came early August. I got COVID and had to quarantine alone for 7 long weeks. Yeah, almost 2 full months by myself. She stayed with her family while I was stuck at home. I only left the house for testing, and when I tested positive, I went straight back inside. Cabin fever hit hard. Every day after work, my wife would stop by, drop off groceries on the porch, and then sit in her car while we chatted from a distance, me standing 8 feet away in the driveway. Those 30-minute conversations became the highlight of my day. It was the only real human interaction I had. But one day, we got into an argument over the electric bill. She told me I was using too much electricity and needed to cut back since I wasn't working and money was tight. That got under my skin. I was frustrated. I knew what she'd been spending money on: new clothes, dinners out with friends and family. I didn't mind. She needed to take care of herself while away from home, and we weren't broke or anything. Still, I never brought up her spending once. So for her to nitpick the power bill? That stung. I snapped and said something stupid and petty. Guess I'll just turn everything off then. Yeah, childish. And I regretted it the second it left my mouth. I knew she was just stressed about finances. I apologized right away and explained how stir-crazy I was feeling. But after that, she didn't speak to me for 3 weeks. No texts, no calls, no food drops, nothing. It was like I vanished. Finally, when I tested negative, I messaged her and said we needed to talk, that I was good now and she could come home. She replied that she was visiting a female friend out of state, and we'd talk when she got back. A week later, we had that conversation. She told me she wasn't coming back. She said she didn't love me anymore and that our marriage was over. Just like that. I was blindsided. She told me I didn't speak her love language, that she needed physical touch and had fallen out of love with me. I had no clue what love languages even were. I figured the physical touch thing was about the ED. I'd never read the book she was referring to, so I looked it up, downloaded it on Audible, and listened to it at work twice. And just as a side note, if you're in a relationship or even just thinking about starting one, read that book. It really opened my eyes. I learned that just saying I love you isn't always enough. And even if this marriage didn't work out, that knowledge alone is going to help me in the future. So now that I understood what she needed and realized I had my own love language she hadn't been speaking either, I asked her to meet up for lunch. I told her I'd read the book and finally got it. I told her we could fix this if we were both willing. Then I asked her if she even knew what my love language was. She looked totally caught off guard, like she hadn't expected me to turn the tables. I made my point: neither of us had been meeting each other's needs. But if we were both finally ready to do that, there was still hope. She shot it down. Said the feelings just weren't there anymore. That we'd be great friends, but the marriage was over. That crushed me. Back during quarantine, she had mentioned that she'd been going on walks with a male mutual friend of ours. I've known the guy for 12 years, we worked together. He's married with kids. She and he had trained together for work years ago and stayed friends. At the time, I thought nothing of it. Looking back now, I should have been paying closer attention. About a week after that final talk, she stopped by the house to grab a few things. She asked if I wanted to go for a drive. She said she was feeling low and needed to talk. Of course, I said yes. That's when she told me she was upset because this friend's wife didn't want him seeing her anymore. Instant alarm bells. I asked why, and she said the wife suspected they were having an affair. I asked her straight up, were they? She said no, nothing had ever happened. Then I asked why the wife would think that, and she admitted they'd been spending 5 or 6 days a week together since I went into quarantine. She even bought gifts for his kids while she was out of town visiting a friend. The wife threw the presents away. Then she looked me in the eye and said, "He just makes my life feel so full." That hit like a brick to the chest. My wife, telling me, without a trace of shame, that another man was filling the space I used to. I told her she needed to be honest with me. Did she see him as more than a friend? And all she said was, "That doesn't matter." That should have been my breaking point. But she was still my wife, and I wasn't ready to walk away. I still felt like I had to try, right up until the bitter end. We didn't talk much about us after that. But she started spending more time around me again. Deep down, I knew the only reason she was hanging around was because his wife had cut her off. Eventually, that wife found me on Facebook and reached out. We had a long, honest conversation. She told me she had placed a voice recorder in his truck and caught them making out, maybe more. The audio had some movement, and they weren't speaking. That absolutely gutted me. But she also told me that she and her husband were in therapy now, trying to rebuild. The talk with her was surprisingly peaceful. No yelling. Just two people hurting. Then a few weeks ago, my wife stopped by again. We were catching up on a show we used to watch together. As she got ready to leave, she said, "I love you, like always." I responded the way I always do, "I love you more." It's been our thing since day one. But this time, it felt different. We both knew I actually meant it. She locked eyes with me and immediately broke down. Ugly crying, like full-on, uncontrollable sobbing. She hugged me like she hadn't in months. Tight. Desperate. I just held her. When she finally calmed down, we went for a drive, her favorite way to process emotions. That night, we had the deepest conversation yet. And for a brief moment, it felt like we might actually find our way back to each other. She told me that at the time, she really believed walking away from our marriage was the right move for her, but now she didn't know anymore. She admitted she was confused, unsure of what she truly wanted or what she was even doing with her life. She just needed space to figure it all out. She brought up the idea of marriage counseling, and I immediately told her that would absolutely have to happen before she even considered moving back in with me. I let her know I was willing to do whatever it took to try to fix things, so long as we were both genuinely committed to the process. That night, I felt surprisingly hopeful. It felt like maybe, just maybe, we still had a shot. But then, just a week later, she flipped completely. Back to, "It's over for good." And now, I'm stuck in this strange limbo. I'm still here, foolishly holding on and waiting for her to come back. Meanwhile, she's waiting on her boyfriend to finally leave his wife. And in the meantime, we're still spending time together. She calls me up whenever she feels lonely, asking if we can go out or do something, and I'd like an idiot, keep saying yes. I told her we probably needed to stop this. Because for her, it's just hanging out with a friend. But for me? I'm spending time with my wife. It doesn't feel the same at all. Since she moved out, I've been trying to take care of myself. I went to my doctor and finally started treatment, antidepressants and testosterone therapy. I even asked my doctor if she could give me the injections so I didn't have to do it myself, and she's been doing that for me every week. Honestly, I feel a lot better. I don't know if it's the meds, the testosterone, or both, but there's a noticeable difference. When it comes to my marriage, though, I'm still hanging on to something that might already be gone. Every plan I ever made for my future had her in it. I was so excited for us to become parents someday. I couldn't wait to see her as a mom. I looked forward to traveling together, growing old side by side, having grandkids one day, all of it. Now I'm sitting alone in the house we picked out together, and I have no clue what my future looks like anymore. I feel completely lost. So that's where I'm at right now. I honestly don't know if what she did technically counts as cheating since she left me before anything physical may have happened. But I'm certain the emotional affair was happening during my quarantine, maybe even earlier. If you stuck around to read all this, thank you. I know it's a long, messy story, but writing it out helps. If you've got advice, encouragement, anything, I'd really appreciate it. Update 1: I want to thank everyone who left a comment. I've read every single one, and I'm still reading as they come in. There are too many to reply to individually, but I just want you to know how grateful I am. Some of the comments were blunt, maybe a little too blunt, but they all helped me see something clearly. This was infidelity. It was an affair. And I should be furious. But I'd been so devastated over losing the woman I love that I didn't realize something important: she's not that woman anymore. The version of her I fell in love with doesn't exist. That person disappeared the moment she chose another man over me. So I'm trying to take things one day at a time now. I'm keeping myself busy with hobbies and picking up old ones I'd let go of. Anything to stop my mind from wandering. The hardest part is the random reminders, like seeing a car in her favorite color and thinking, she'd love that, or catching the smell of her favorite meal, or hearing our songs on the radio. She's everywhere, even though she's not here. It's a brutal thing to face. And realizing the truth doesn't really make it any easier. But still, thank you for the support. Update 2, I finally told her no. A bunch of people told me in the last thread that I needed to stop saying yes every time she wanted to hang out. That I had to start setting boundaries. So, on Christmas, I went to the place where she's been staying. The people she's living with have become friends of mine over the years, so I wanted to stop by and wish them a Merry Christmas. My wife and I had gifts to exchange too. We went to her room to do that. She gave me a few shirts and a new wallet, same gift every year. I had gotten her a couple of expensive Funko Pops from her favorite show. While we were talking, she looked at a video game sitting on her desk, chuckled, and shook her head. I glanced at it and said, "What's funny?" She casually let it slip that copy of the game wasn't the one she bought for herself, it was the one her boyfriend gave her. She just dropped that on me like it was nothing, like it was some sort of twisted competition. Never mind that each of the pops I bought her cost more than that game. It didn't even seem to register. Then she said she wanted to go for a drive and asked if I wanted to come along. I told her no. She asked, "So you're just going to go home and do nothing?" I said I'd probably play video games. Then I told her I didn't think we should hang out anymore. She'd made it clear months ago where she stood, and if this really was the end, then I needed to start moving forward. She just shrugged and said okay, in the coldest, most dismissive tone you can imagine. And that was that. I went home. We haven't spoken since. It might seem like a small moment, but for me, it was a big step. I don't feel like I won anything, but I know it was necessary. It's part of how I'm going to dig myself out of this depression. Update 3, hey again. It's been 7 months since my last update, and man, it's been a rough 7 months. A lot of you gave me advice after those first posts. I followed some of it, ignored some of it, and now I want to share how it all shook out. Not long after the start of the year, I went mostly no contact with her. No more lunches. No more heart-to-hearts. We only talked when it was necessary, stuff like, "Do you know the login for the insurance account?" That kind of thing. Sometimes we'd go over a month without a single word exchanged. I know that's not full no contact like some people recommended, but it was the best I could manage at the time. And even with that distance, I still foolishly held on to hope that maybe we'd get back together. That hope faded slowly over time. Eventually, I accepted the truth, it's over. She's still hanging on to the fantasy that this guy is going to leave his wife and kids for her. But he hasn't. And let's be real, it doesn't look like he ever will. She's convinced he will someday, though. And as for today? We went down to the courthouse and filed the divorce paperwork. She's not asking for the house. She's not demanding any money. So this should be quick and simple. We're just waiting now for the court to give us a date to finalize it all with a judge. She brought it up again, how she wanted us to stay friends. Said this whole thing hadn't been easy for her, that none of her choices were made lightly. But I told her I couldn't do that. I couldn't just slip into some pretend friendship and act like everything was fine. Maybe down the road, maybe, but definitely not now. Especially considering that if she actually gets what she's holding out for, if that guy leaves his wife for her, he's not going to want her hanging around me. Let's be real. She just said, "I'll do what I want." So I asked her straight, even if he picks you, and you get everything you think you want, are you seriously going to dismiss his feelings the way you did mine? She didn't say a word. Just silence. By now, most people in our circle know we're separated. But not many know about the affair. I've seen a lot of comments from people saying I should go public, air it out, let everyone know the truth. But honestly, the ones who matter already know, and that's good enough for me. I've thought about making a post on Facebook, just something short and respectful, maybe saying that we've finalized the divorce. No drama, no dirty details. I'm not trying to stir anything up before we appear in front of the judge. Today was a rough one. I thought I was doing better, but grief doesn't follow a straight line. The sadness crept back in hard. A lot of things I believed I was over came back to the surface. I think the part that hurts the most is accepting that the woman I loved, she's just gone. When I look at her now, it's like looking at a stranger. The woman I married doesn't exist anymore. It feels like she died, and I've been in mourning ever since. But I guess this is really the end of the road. And now it's time to actually start healing. Really healing. I'm not rushing into anything new. I know I'm not ready. Whoever comes next deserves a clean slate, not a guy dragging around heartbreak and bitterness. I'll have to relearn how to date, how to open up again. That whole world feels foreign now. But I'll get there. Eventually. Update 4 today, we went to court. Sat in front of a judge who barely looked at us and asked if we agreed to the divorce terms. We both said yes. And that was it. An entire 8-year relationship reduced to 5 minutes in a courtroom. I thought I was ready for this. I had been mentally preparing for almost a year. But sitting there, waiting for the judge to speak, all I could think about was the good times. The laughs. The little things we used to do for each other. And how that's all gone now. It hit me like a punch to the gut. We used to make each other so happy. At one point, I looked at her and said, I really thought we'd grow old together. She just shrugged and said, well, it's not like we couldn't get married again someday. I told her no. That wasn't going to happen. I reminded her how I had begged for counseling, how I had wanted to fix things and she had shut it all down. Why would we expect a different outcome if we tried again? I asked her, kind of offhandedly, did he ever leave his wife? And she told me she didn't have a boyfriend. So I pointed at the lock screen photo on her phone, the guy's face right there, and said, then why is he still your background? She didn't answer. No surprise. I had found out a while back that he left the job where they both worked. Apparently, his wife gave him an ultimatum, quit the job where she was leaving. So he left. But clearly, he has no intention of actually leaving his marriage. And yet, my ex is still waiting around for him like he might someday. I've been thinking about calling his wife again. Just to give her everything I know. I did go ahead and make that Facebook post. I kept it simple and respectful. Let everyone know we'd been separated for a year, and that our divorce was finalized. I thanked her family for always welcoming me and said I hoped people would keep us both in their prayers. I didn't mention the cheating. Not because I'm covering for her, but because it felt pointless. Like throwing gas on a fire that's already out. The people who need to know already do. Her sisters know. Her mom knows. Her best friend knows. And I trust them not to let her twist the story and make me the villain. There's no property fight, the house is mine, the divorce is finalized. There's nothing left to fight about. Surprisingly, the comments on my post were kind. Supportive. A mix of shock and sadness. People wishing us both well. So now, it's time to turn the page. Time to rebuild. I know I'm not ready to jump into dating, and that's okay. I've got a lot of work to do on myself. I've got to relearn who I even am without her. My sister said something to me the other day that hit me hard. She told me, you've got a blank canvas in front of you. Don't be afraid of it. Don't let the emptiness stop you from creating something beautiful. Make this next chapter yours, no matter how messy or strange it starts out. You're one of the best people I know. The harvest will come, just focus on sowing the right seeds. You've got this. And I can't wait to see where life takes you next. Update 5. It's been over a year now. We split in October 2020. And the divorce was finalized on August 11, 2021. She ended things with the guy she left me for. Meanwhile, he and his wife are still working through marriage counseling. She's now seeing someone new, and, of all days, she chose what would have been our wedding anniversary to announce the new relationship on Facebook. Classy. Then out of nowhere, she called me. First time since the split. Total radio silence until now. I saw her name pop up and, for some reason, I answered. Her reason for calling? She wanted to know if my parents were in town yesterday, and if they had used her phone number to buy steaks and soda. Apparently, the company we both still work for, though at separate locations, gave employees a $100 holiday bonus tied to their phone number. She thought my parents had used hers. I told her no. Not a chance. First of all, my parents wouldn't do that. And second, they don't even have a car right now, my sister's borrowing it. I even suggested she check the receipts through her app and ask the store to review the security footage. She texted me a few hours later, found out who it was. Sorry. Now, I should have just let that be the end of it, but it really pissed me off. The first time she speaks to me in 2 months, and she opens with accusing my parents of stealing? I snapped. I told her my parents aren't thieves, and they didn't deserve that. I said next time, maybe check your facts before making wild accusations. Her response? Wow, okay. I wasn't trying to say they did it on purpose. They're just the only people I could think of who'd use my bonus. You need to stop being so emotional just because I left you. Besides, your dad probably would have been the one shopping, and he's usually too drunk to know what he's doing anyway. And that was the moment everything clicked. All this time, I've been asking myself if we could have done something different. Would counseling have made a difference? Could I have tried harder? But in that moment, I realized my parents were nothing but good to her. My dad, especially, never did a damn thing to deserve that kind of low blow. She said it to hurt me. That's it. No other reason. And that led to the first real conversation we've had about everything. I found out something that honestly knocked the wind out of me. She genuinely believes she didn't do anything wrong. To this day, she claims it wasn't an affair. According to her, even emotional affairs don't count. She said she's allowed to have feelings for another man as long as nothing physical ever happened. Then she hit me with this: "You're just an angry, bitter, unmotivated man, and you always have been. I can't spend the rest of my life trying to fix you." That's not true. I wasn't miserable. I was happy with her, despite everything I'd been going through. We had real moments, good ones. But that conversation made something crystal clear: if she honestly doesn't think she did anything wrong, there was no way we could have fixed our marriage. Even if we tried, it would have never worked. Not with that mindset. Even during our last argument, the one about the steaks and soda, she couldn't give me a real apology. Instead, she deflected. Said my dad probably did it, and then took a personal shot at him, dragging up his past struggles with alcohol. And for what? He never once did anything to hurt her. At the end of that conversation, she said she'd be coming by soon to get her stuff. Be there or don't. I don't care, she said. Yes, after over a year, all of her belongings are still in my house, right where she left them. And yet she's still trying to dictate terms, take control of my space in my life. No more. I told her I was already boxing everything up and moving it into the living room. Then I asked her not to bring her new boyfriend when she came to get it. She laughed. Don't be ridiculous. He's across the state furnishing our new home. Apparently, they've been together for just a month and she's already quitting her job of 9 years and moving across the state with him. Another jab. Another attempt to hurt me. And for the longest time, it worked. I've been in a dark place, feeling like the crushed remains of who I used to be. Depressed. Angry. Numb. Just stuck in this loop I couldn't break. But after that final conversation with her, something changed. I finally saw her for who she really is. She's not the woman I loved. She's a manipulator. A narcissist. A liar. And I don't hurt as much anymore. I'm not mourning the loss of her because the person I thought she was never really existed. I'm left wondering if any of it was ever real for her. But it doesn't matter anymore. This chapter is closing for good. And if you take anything from this, let it be this: when someone shows you who they are, believe them. The fog is finally starting to lift. And if you're in it right now, I hope it clears for you too. Update 6: I've been quietly browsing Reddit, especially this sub lurking in the background while battling depression. Reading others' stories. Absorbing the advice. Letting the encouragement soak in. And I want to say, thank you. All of it has helped me more than I can explain. When I was 13, I walked into our house after school and found my dad sitting motionless in his chair. My mom was screaming, crying harder than I've ever seen anyone cry. Her brother had taken his own life. He found out his wife had been cheating. That moment scarred my soul. I never wanted to cause my family that kind of pain. So even when my depression got really bad, I never seriously considered ending my life. That day, all those years ago, haunted me enough to stay grounded. But after my wife's affair, the dark thoughts started showing up more often. Not plans. Not intentions. Just whispers. Thoughts like, if I just turn the wheel slightly, it'll all be over. Or what if I just disappeared into that lake? Or if I grabbed that cop's weapon, it would be quick. Those thoughts terrified me. They still do. And I know they're not uncommon when you're grieving something this deep. But they're dangerous. They sneak in when you're tired and numb. And I just want to say this: if you're having those thoughts, don't face them alone. Talk to someone. Anyone. Even a stranger online. You deserve to feel okay again. It took me a long time to believe it, but I now know this: my life didn't end with her betrayal. If you're just beginning this process, it might feel hopeless right now. Like there's no light left. And that's normal. There's a period unique for everyone where the world just feels dead. You look around and see nothing worth aiming for. And everyone around you will toss out the same cliche: time heals all wounds. And when you hear that, it'll feel hollow. But I promise, it's not a lie. I'm not healed. Not fully. But I'm doing better than I was this time last year. And I finally believe there's a future worth reaching for. Yes, my view of love has changed. I doubt I'll ever see relationships the same again. But I've stopped staring backward. That alone is a win. To quote Pearl Jam, "A love gone bad turned my world to black. Tattooed all I see, all that I am, all I'll be." That's exactly how it felt. But now, I'm cautiously optimistic about what comes next. Update 7: Back in early 2021, the guy my wife cheated with left the company we worked for. He wanted to focus on his marriage and officially ended things with her. Since then, I've seen him a handful of times. He works a new job not far from mine. We've crossed paths. We've made eye contact. But I've never spoken a word to him. Not during. Not after. If he had been a total stranger, I probably would have directed all my anger at her. But this guy? I knew him for over a decade. We weren't just co-workers, we were friends. We talked every day. About our marriages. Our lives. He knew how much I loved my wife and he slept with her anyway. Still, I never confronted him. I chose to move on. But today, a mutual friend reached out and said, "Hey, would you ever be willing to talk to him?" My first response? Tell him I wish him well, but I have nothing to say. The friend paused and said, "I probably shouldn't tell you this, but he's not doing well. He told me a few weeks ago he's thought about ending his life." I was caught off guard. The friend explained that he's racked with guilt over what happened. Said he lost a lot of weight, people started paying attention to him, and it went to his head. He made bad choices, and he regrets it. I said, well, yeah, he should feel guilty. He did what he did. But no, I don't want him to take his life. Then the friend told me the guy just wants to talk. He wants to compare stories. Find out what my ex told him. Apparently, he's not sure if she lied to him too. Maybe she told him we were separated. But I told the friend this, he had my number. He could have texted or called. It would have taken 2 seconds to find out the truth. Still, if talking to me would help him move on, give him closure or peace, then fine. I'll talk. But we're not friends. Not anymore. We never will be again. There's no going back to casual conversation. No catching up over football games or cracking beers. He slept with the woman I loved. That never goes away. I know she's mostly to blame. But he played a part in destroying what used to be the best part of my life. And I don't think I'll ever see love the same way again. If he wants forgiveness, I don't know if I can offer that. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But if he's truly that low, if he's on the edge, I'll find the right words. Because no matter what happened, I don't want another person choosing the kind of ending I saw break my mother all those years ago.